In the years of 1775 and 1776, there was a fever of revolution in the British colonies in America. In Lexington and Concord, the embattled farmers stood against the British Army in the spring of 1775 and fired the shot heard round the world. A year later, in the spring of 1776, the Americans were ready for a complete break with the British Crown. By June of 1776, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania was the focus of the American agitation for a settlement of its troubles with England. There, in the gracious city of brotherly love, leaders from all the 13 British colonies met in a Continental Congress. John Hancock was the president, and among the others meeting in the Pennsylvania State House were John and Samuel Adams of Massachusetts, Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, Robert Morris of Pennsylvania, Benjamin Franklin of Pennsylvania, and Richard Henry Lee of Virginia. What an assortment of men that was. Intellectuals, politicians, farmers, revolutionaries, the best men in the 13 colonies. On the 7th of June, 1776, a Virginia farmer named Richard Henry Lee took the floor and introduced a resolution. It was seconded by John Adams, a Massachusetts lawyer. That resolution was this: Resolved, that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. The fat was in the fire. That resolution for independence was turned over to a committee of 5 members, headed by Thomas Jefferson of Virginia, easily the most sophisticated intellectual member of that band of daring men who made up the body of the Continental Congress. The committee selected Jefferson to make a draft of a formal declaration that would proclaim to the world those daring and dangerous words: these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. Jefferson started to work in a room at Market and 7th Streets in Philadelphia. And by June 28th of that year, the committee was ready to make its report to the whole Congress. The Congress made 86 changes in Jefferson's wording of the Declaration. He thought the changes were deplorable. The Congress dropped 480 words and left 1,337. It was now the 2nd of July, 1776. On that date, July 2nd, 1776, the Lee-Adams Resolution for Independence was adopted by the Continental Congress. Thus it is that July 2nd is recorded as the actual date of the decision by the representatives of the people of the 13 American colonies to be free of English rule. But the date we celebrate is July 4th, for it was on that date that the Continental Congress published the formal Declaration of Independence. Those 1,337 words proclaim the independence of the 13 colonies and list the charges against the King of England which drove the colonies to that decision. But the words at the beginning and the end of that timeless document are the ones that truly stirred the America of that time, and which even today stir the oppressed peoples of our modern world. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to this separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. And so a band of men in the State House of Philadelphia put into words the aspirations of what history would record as the first successful anti-colonial war in history. But the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence were not simply expressing their desire to be free men. They were ready to fight for that freedom. And they so stated at the conclusion of the Declaration in these words, "And for the support of this Declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." Every country, every people has a symbol. It is